Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Life in the Wildlands podcast, where we discuss exciting opportunities with outdoor careers, share professional experiences, and provide advice to overcome the hurdles to federal employment. I am your host, Becky Schufelt. Today, we are with Tonee Davis, and she's going to tell us about her career in recreation and public services. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Tonee.
Well, hi, I am Antoinette Tonee Davis, and I have been with the Forest Service for about 24 years in varied capacities, different things. I've been blessed to be able to experience different parts of the agency. This is, like I said, my 24th year. I just started a new position with the agency in February as the Urban Connections Coordinator for Newark, New Jersey.
Wow. So, Urban Coordinations Director, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Urban Connections is a program unique to Region 9, the eastern region of the agency, where we're in the larger cities. The eastern region has more population, more urban cities, and the Forest Service wants to be able to connect our urban public to our forest lands, our forest activities. So, as the Urban Connections Coordinator, my job is to connect the residents of Newark, New Jersey to Forest Service programs, activities, or even to the closest national forest.
Wow. So, Urban Coordinations Director, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Urban Connections is a program unique to Region 9, the eastern region of the agency, where we're in the larger cities. The eastern region has more population, more urban cities, and the Forest Service wants to be able to connect our urban public to our forest lands, our forest activities. So, as the Urban Connections Coordinator, my job is to connect the residents of Newark, New Jersey to Forest Service programs, activities, or even to the closest national forest.
Oh, that's great. So, what kind of activities
So
are you?
mostly recreational activities, youth
Mhm.
engagement, looking at working with an agency called Wilderness Inquiry to bring, I think, 18 passenger canoes down and canoe some of the rivers within the city. Some stuff like that, camping, working with Girl Scouts, anything that can inspire youth, engage them, and introduce them to green careers. So any activities um, that connect them to nature. So we may do tree planting in the city. We may do some water quality projects. It just all depends. This is a brand new city, so I don't have any partners yet, no expectations, just going to go into it open-minded and do what the residents want. I want it to be resident-led.
Wow, that's fantastic. I have not heard of any other position like this. They might exist, I don't know, but that's something I've never heard of. So, can you tell me a little bit more, like how are you going out to finding the youth to introduce them to these activities?
So prior to accepting the position, I detailed as the Urban Connections Coordinator for Detroit. And so during that time, the end of that detail, I was able to just really go online and Google stuff and make cold calls to the city of Newark, Girl Scouts, just calling organizations that I know have youth, do some conservation education and outreach kind of things. So I have a long list of 120 organizations that I've been just calling and introducing myself to and just talking to them, telling them about the Urban Connections program and seeing if they're interested in partnering with us. In some capacities, we're able to even give them money through grants and agreement. And in some cases, it's just providing services such as conservation education activities or interpretation, being able to teach and reach the youth there. So it just varies. There's no set list of folks that I'm contacting other than the ones I created, but in word of mouth as well. I've been talking to some people. I was able to go down in April to an event in Newark for Earth Day and just met some great people, the public, some other organizations that kind of do the same thing, and just talking to them and seeing where we can connect.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing opportunity to have this kind of position. I know that's something I would completely enjoy, and it sounds like a great way to even maybe expose the youth to these types of jobs in the field, which is the point of the podcast.
Absolutely, and that's one of our main goals. One partner we just spoke with yesterday is a National Forest Foundation, and they're very much into growing green careers, influencing planting seeds to get some youth in these urban settings interested in Forest Service careers, so we can build behind us. I'm getting old. I'm not going to be young forever, and we need to get the future generation interested and invested in protecting our natural resources.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. And this is why we do this podcast because, folks, there are a lot of great jobs out there. And, we're going to hear from Tonee on how she got here. So, Tonee, I know that you have a very strong background with public services and recreation management. So, can you tell us a little bit more about how you got started in the Forest Service?
Sure. So I can go way back and tell you my passion for this type of work came from being a Girl Scout. I'm a lifetime member, and I got the Gold Award, which is the highest award. And that's where I got the seed was planted in my life to be interested in a career in natural resources and recreation. I love to camp. I love being outside. I love canoeing. I love those kind of activities. I love hiking. And so my career has allowed me to be able to do all those things and get paid for it, which is awesome. So I started out actually interning. I was The Forest Service was so great to pay for my entire education, which is a wonderful thing. I was recruited from high school. The current forest supervisor of the state of Florida actually came to my home as an 18-year-old and took me to a forest camp that was put on by
Really?
that was put on by the state of Florida. And so I got to go. I didn't know anything about forestry. I knew I wanted to do something with the environment. So I was taken to a camp for a week, and I learned about prescribed burning and forestry in general. And then I went to college. So started college, and then the scholarship that I had was a 2+2 program. I was a USDA multicultural scholar. And so that paid for my entire education. And I had internships every summer. So my first summer, I started with the Forest Service and conservation education. Was able to to drive around the southern research stations and put on different programs in different cities supported by the research stations. And then my second summer, I was able to work for NRCS, which is our sister agency, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And I worked as a soil conservationist trainee. And then every summer after that, I did NRCS. Upon graduating, I actually worked for NRCS for a year. And then I transferred to the Forest Service.
Can you just clarify for our audience what NRCS
Sure, it's the Natural
means?
Resources Conservation Service, was another USDA organization. The Forest Service has the most employees under USDA, followed by NRCS. And NRCS does stuff on private land, so they work with farmers and do conservation practices that are funded by the USDA, the Farm Service Agency or whatnot. So they actually private landowners actually get funds and conservation plans to do conservation practices on their land. Really fun
Oh,
job.
yeah, well, it sounds like it. And I love the fact that you are also a Girl Scout because I also was in Girl Scouts up and I got my silver award. I didn't
Okay.
finish out to the gold, but I got every other award. And we had a very outdoorsy Girl Scout troop, and so that really, I think, contributed a lot to myself and getting in this career field too. So can we go back to when you were talking about the scholarship and how you actually really got your foot in the door? Are there other opportunities out there for folks to pursue that?
So currently, the only scholarship that I know about that's similar to what I went through is the 1890 Land Grant Scholarship. I do believe that it is a scholarship that is associated with historically Black colleges and universities, but I don't believe you have to be African American to pursue that scholarship. I think any minority class can, as long as you're willing to go to the listed historically Black colleges and universities and major in one of the fields that are indicated. So it's their land grant universities. So for example, I went to Florida A&M University, which is a land grant school in Florida.
With this scholarship, it paid for your entire schooling to get a degree to
Yes.
work for the Forest
So
Service. And your degree
it's
was in natural resources?
so my degree, the program I went to was a 2+2 program. So I went to Florida A&M, which is a historically Black college in Florida, for 2 years, and then I transferred to the University of Florida. So that program was designed to get more minorities into forestry and natural resources. So my actual major was forest resource conservation. That's what my degree was in. I have a bachelor's from the University of Florida. in forest resource conservation, and I also have a bachelor's degree in agricultural science from Florida A&M University. So that was part of the scholarship program at that time. But currently, the 1890 land grant scholarship, you pretty much go to the school that you apply for, the 1890 land grant institution or the HBCU. You go there for 4 years. You're guaranteed internships every summer, laptop, computer, free books, free tuition, and free tutoring.
Wow, that is amazing. I wish I had something like that. So let's talk a little bit more about you you went and got the scholarship and worked with the natural resources conservation. And then how did you get into recreation?
So first, I started out as a forester because basically my degree was in forestry, and then I took a position on the Francis Marion National Forest, which is in South Carolina. Beautiful forest, by the way. And I was a forester trainee, and then I was part of my job was to work with the program manager. So one was the TMA, which is the timber salesperson, and the other person I was working with was in special uses and recreation. So she left her position, and I was able to just kind of take over her duties, and that's how I got into recreation. It was not even intended to be honest with you. I was a straight up forester, but my calling was has and my strength has always been working with people in the public. So I fit very well into special uses and recreation.
So, for our audience, can you explain a little bit more about public services and recreation, just so that they have an idea of what that career is all about?
Sure. So I like to explain it as like you have your timber beast, people who are actually working on cutting down trees, selling the trees, and making sure they're growing healthy.
Which
And
is
that's
what
kind
the
of
Forest Service is really known for.
yes, that's one of our main missions. But however, we're a multicultural, purpose agency. And so our focus is not just on cutting timber and regenerating timber. It is the public use of the land. So public services deals with the public use of the land, just that. And that includes special uses. So anything that you do on a forest requires a permit if it's commercial in nature, or it's going to be a certain amount of people, or you want to have a wedding. And that was kind of always go with recreation. So recreation and special uses are a lot of time kind of together in some places, especially in the South, they're kind of always together. But recreation, so we're responsible for making sure our public service is to the people to make sure it is clean and safe. So we make sure that there's clean water, that there are no hazards there that we can avoid, that the public's going to be able to go and enjoy their public land safely, make memories, come back for future generations. So that's basically what we do in recreation. We make sure that you can come out to a national forest land, forest or grassland, and be able to recreate safely, whether that's camping or hiking, kayaking, visitor centers, the list goes on and on. It's just all kind of recreational activities that you can think of. Even bird watching, we want to make sure it is safe for everyone because we are a multi-use agency.
Yeah, it's more of kind of overseeing maintenance of the forest infrastructure, and making sure that the contracts get in place for garbage dump, disposal and bathroom cleaning and all that kind of fun stuff. So it really is an important job because it is a service, and if you come out camping to the national forest and you go into a clean porta potty, or not a porta potty but a vault toilet, and that's the job. That's what it is. It's making sure all those facilities are clean and safe.
And it's often things that most people don't even think about, that you have a facility and it has to be maintained. There has to be a budget for that facility. So you're making sure that the water's on during the winter, or that that the toilets aren't clogged, that the toilets are pumped. And then also making sure that whatever's at that recreation site is interpreted so that you understand why that place is significant, why we chose that place for a recreation site, whether it's a trail, whether it's an indigenous special place. What is funny about life is we like to recreate the same places that our native population like to recreate in so long ago. So you'll see that some places have been established, their names may be associated with a certain tribe or certain people. and that it's important to also interpret. So that's a different part of recreation too. Is we would like to educate, not just bring you there, make it safe for you, but also teach you something while you're there.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is probably one of the most key things about that career field is education and then maintenance. And both, I mean, because they go hand
Absolutely.
in hand. So, okay, we've talked about how you got in and what you're doing today, but can you give me an experience or two that really stood out to you that it was the day that you just had an amazing, amazing time and got paid for it, because that's what we want to do is inspire folks to give them a picture of what it is that sometimes we do get paid for that other folks sometimes the general public has to pay for. So, can you share some experiences with us?
Sure. So one of my favorite programs that is fairly recent, last 5 years, is called GBO, which means Get Black Outside. And during that weekend, I get to have the opportunity to take urban folks out from different cities nearby in Florida and take them freshwater snorkeling. And I always say, I can't believe I get paid to be able to be in our beautiful springs on the Ocala National Forest, which are 72 degrees year round, crystal clear, beautiful water, and be able to show them what I get to see every day, to be able to get in that water and show them the macroinvertebrate, the other fish, the alligators, how the spring heads, to show them the cave system that's forming, and be able to explain to them and have fun, spend time in the water, and just lose yourself, in nature. And it's one of my funnest parts of the year, where I enjoy the most, because I really do enjoy teaching. But it is like, I'm in the water. I get paid to play in the water for a couple hours, a couple times a year, and it's amazing.
So, which job do you get to do that? I'm
So that
jealous.
so that was working while I was working on the Ocala National Forest as a natural resource specialist. And we have it at one of our springs, Alexander Springs. And that was I've done that part as part of being part of recreation staff and a part of being doing my interpretive and environmental education job as well. So those are the jobs I got to be able to experience those wonderful, just enjoying the youth coming out from the city and letting them, the water's kind of cold at first for us Floridians. And then once you get in and get used to it, it's amazing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I was lucky enough to experience it last year, and oh my own, that I wanted to jump in that water so bad. But it is very beautiful. I'm like, wow. Okay, I need to come back out there and have you have you take me on a tour. Um, so do you have any other experiences that stand out to you?
Yeah. So I think like one of the funniest things I've ever done, when I went to the Klamath National Forest, and I was able to go as the deputy district ranger on a detail, and I got to go packing with the horses and take up a wilderness trail crew to the Siskiyou Mountains Wilderness. So I was able to help pack the horses with all the gear, go up the mountain, drop the stuff off, spend a couple nights with the horse keeper, and just get to experience the crew and see some of the work they had already previously done. And just that was just fun to me. Growing up, I grew up in a city. I didn't grow up in a rural setting or a forested setting. And to be able to say, man, I remember sending pictures back to my friends in Florida and saying, this is what I did for the last couple of days. I got to go out with the horse. I got to sleep with these horses. I got to feed the horses. I got to pack the horses. I got to walk on the side of a mountain very scarily with these horses with all the stuff. And it was just an experience, that I'll never forget.
Yeah. And like people pay to go on packing trips,
Yes.
and you're getting paid to go out, with a packing guide. And yeah, it's that is amazing. And the Klamath is in California, if for
Yes.
those of you that don't know, and it's way northern California too. So it's
Yes. Very
very
isolated.
mountainous, very isolated, and some beautiful wilderness terrain up there. And
Yes.
it's one of my, yeah, old stomping grounds as well, because I was working on the Six Rivers just south and part of the Klamath, which was the
Yes.
Yukonom district. So I know that area and had a similar experience doing the same thing. So it's yeah, amazing. It's so different The West is very different in land management versus the East. But I want to move on
And
to.
that's another point too. If I can, another point I
Mhm.
can make that my time with the agency, I've been able to travel to so many places and have these temporary promotions to be able to experience just so many different things. You know, um, it's just like working for the being a single mom. I was not wanting to move my son until he graduated from high school. So I was very fortunate to really lose time and grade getting promotions. I was able to strategically do details and other opportunities where I could learn, further my career, and just experience different experiences with the agency. So I always think that it's a great career to be able to raise a family, even as a single mother.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So it is possible to be able to move around. And I know when I'm trying to mentor folks, I tell them when they're young in their career, when you're young, you need to move around to really make opportunities for yourself. If you don't, you're never going to move from a seasonal position to a permanent full-time position with the federal government. I mean, it can happen, but you'll be waiting a whole lot longer. And so I think one of the benefits of what you just said is being able to go around the country, work in different places. You get to experience how different forests are managed, how, or whatever agency that you're working for at the time. And then you get to see new terrain. And I don't know, I'm an explorer by heart and nature. But if it sounds like if that's something for our audience members that you want to pursue, if you like to travel and explore, this is a great position to be, especially starting seasonal. And you didn't start seasonal though, Tonee, like a lot of us did, right? But it's
No, I was
taking,
able to right upon graduation come in.
yeah, and you're one of the
I'm
very
sorry.
lucky
Right
ones.
after graduation, I was yeah, I think I'm very thankful for that to not have to go through the seasonal route to be able to come in and just start right out of college.
Which is why it's great to share the avenue that you came through, because people need to know that there are many different pathways to get to where you're going. But being able to move around and experience more of the country, it's just a great, fantastic feeling. Why do you feel like the work you do contributes to overall public land management stewardship?
That's the key word. I think the key word you said is stewardship. I feel like I am a steward, you know, that being in my profession, that it's kind of up to me to help influence the protection and the retention of the beautiful places that we have that we call the Forest Service, the recreation sites, the wilderness. So I feel like I'm doing a public service by taking care of it, just fulfilling the duties of my job, even if it's just cleaning the toilet or making sure the water's running or fixing a sign or taking a group out. I feel like I am providing a public service that is so important to the retention of this agency. I really do feel proud when I'm able to visit different Forest Service properties across the country and revel in how they take care of their stuff and learn new ways of how what you can bring home to see, you know, what you can do the same or different or change. It's always I'm always feel like I'm growing and learning almost every day. I learn something new about a resource and how to protect it, how to engage the public and bring them in to encourage them to get off their couches and to come sit on the forest and go camping. So it is indeed a public service, and I feel very much a needed service. I feel that I do feel appreciated as a federal employee. Some people may not feel that way, but I feel greatly appreciated that people see the hard work that we're doing, and I think that it goes a long way.
Yeah, that's a great point. And what's also really amazing about working in public services, like you have in the past, and is that you get to work with different um, specialists in, whether it's within botany, soils, timber, hydrology, wildlife, all those things to implement projects. And so it is one of the fields that gets a little bit of exposure more so to all the other resource areas. It just kind of connects everything together sometimes when you're
Yeah,
dealing with implement. Does that make sense? Am I?
it does, because I was thinking about the only other resource area that does that is fire, where
Yeah, and
because you
fire.
can't really keep fire contained in one area, but recreation is across the most forests. It's not just in one area, and we work interdisciplinary. As we plan things on the forest through like the NEPA process, we all our resources we put. We're all there fighting for our resource, making sure that it is addressed in any kind of project we do, which is fun to me. I think that's
Me
great
too.
that we work that way. I love it. I absolutely love that, and I love hearing about the other resource areas and
Hmm.
they're fighting the game. I love to consider that part too. I've learned a lot over the years
Well,
working as an engineer.
and then learning like mitigations for that resource. So you do get to learn a lot more about, every resource and how it all fits together in the same picture because it all has to jive in the name of protection of that resource, no matter what the project is. And so it's just, yeah, I enjoyed that so much and I miss it. But I get to do these fun podcasts with fun people like you. So, um, so what do you wish you would have known sooner to further your career in the agency?
I just wish I would have known about this in like high school. Like I mean, I lived literally less than an hour from a national forest and had never been there until I got the job. I had never even thought about going there before. And I just wished I would have known that. That would have just planting that seed a lot sooner in my life would have opened me, exposure is everything. And if I would have been exposed to it, I would have been, a little bit more prepared and open minded about even other things. I think I would have been great at, I probably would have liked even archaeology. I don't know. Something that just didn't know a lot about, other than watching Indiana Jones, didn't really know that was something you could really, really do, and it's just lack of
Yeah.
exposure. Growing up in the
Hmm.
city, you just don't talk about archaeologists very often. But it was that kind of thing. I wish I would have been exposed earlier to forestry and forestry practices and more. I mean, I was exposed to recreation. That was a good thing, but not just, I didn't know about the agency. I wish I would have loved to have had that in my back pocket growing up.
So knowing that, what do you feel is the most important information to share with folks that might be interested into getting or pursuing a career in this type of field?
I would say just start somewhere. Like if you have a general interest wherever you are, volunteering is always a good way to learn to see if it's something that you want to do or to get your foot in the door. People can see that you can work and that you're interested in it. So the Forest Service is always looking for volunteers. So I think that and then just if you're in school to talk to someone, grab yourself a mentor to see to help look at your classes because you don't necessarily have to have a degree in something to work for the Forest Service. Sometimes you just have to have a number of credits to do it. But just knowing that kind of stuff, there's a lot of free webinars out there now for hiring that the agency is really going towards. And you can like go and look them up and watch them at your leisure about getting your resume ready. But I would just say, be proactive and just start, diving into it and listening to this podcast is going to help a lot. I mean, if you're listening, that means you're trying. You're on your way to being successful in obtaining a job with the agency and being and having a good career.
Thank you, Tony, so much. You've shared a lot of really good information with us today. And please, if you're interested in pursuing a career in public service and recreation, please give us a call and we are here to help.
Thank you. It was fun, and I'm all about growing our agency and here to help if needed. So thank you.
Thank you. For more stories about outdoor careers, subscribe to the Life in the Wildlands podcast, where I will be interviewing outdoor professionals to discover exciting opportunities in outdoor careers, share professional experiences, discuss the hurdles to federal employment, and provide advice on how to overcome these challenges. And if you're interested in outdoor jobs and don't know where to start, or if you already are a federal employee with the outdoor career that's struggling to make it to the next level in your career development, Life in the Wildlands can help you on your journey. Check out our career counseling and federal resume development services at www.lifeinthewildlands.com or call 406-848-1660.